The Christian community today is a goddamn joke. I'm not talking about Joel Osteen Christians. I just blow them off. They're not even real Christians. I'm talking about the born again, blood washed Christians. Even Paul Washer, Dr. John MacArthur, and the others. They're a goddamn joke. I'm pissed off at the putrid inability of these so-called these spirit-led men who are the so-called cream of the crop of God's elect, unable and unwilling to answer my deepest questions. I gotta ask God. I hope He'll answer. But I'm pissed off at the putrid, detestable inability and despicable unwillingness to even try to tackle my questions because it makes them doubt their faith. I'm utterly disgusted with the putrid, unacceptable, inexcusable lack of real love amongst believers today. I'm talking about amongst true believers. The love between Christians today, I'm talking about between true believers, in America at least, is even more shallow than the love of a high school teen who only wants to date good-looking girls, who only cares about how they look and about their sex, not their personality. And I'm disgusted with the putrid inability to find the answers, getting answers that contradict one another, coming from the same goddamn community of born-again, blood-washed believers. And it makes me doubt that Jesus is even real. And this lack of love is utterly putrefying. Are Christians like this in places where they're persecuted? Or maybe what Christianity needs today is to become a capital offense. Christians need to start having to die for their faith. There are too many tares in the wheat field. Maybe this will cure the woeful, putrid lack of knowledge and wisdom and utter lack of love, real love, amongst the Christian community. I'm not talking about the Joel Osteen community. I'm not talking about the Kenneth Copeland community. I'm not talking about the Paula White community. I'm talking about the Dr. John MacArthur's community. I'm talking about the Paul Washer's community. I'm talking about the true born-again believers community. Right now, I mock the Christian community. I don't mock Jesus, but I'm pissed off. I'm angry at God too. Fuck Him for this. And fuck God for this confusion amongst His own believers. God is not the author of confusion. Could have fooled me by the way His believers are acting. God is love. Except for what I know of God's love, you would have fooled me. I get more love from my enemies than I see amongst the Christian community, amongst one another. The utter is that if that's all the love you have to offer me is that shallow love, as soon as I start falling away, you drop me out like a hot potato and don't try to win me back. Even if I refuse to come back, don't pray for me and have your heart break for me. If you can't offer me that type of love, go to hell. I love myself and make up for the lack of love amongst the Christian community today. I'll ask Jesus my questions. Maybe He'll answer. At least He can't lie. But Maybe he won't tell me directly. He'll lead me into the past that I think I got the answer, but I get an incomplete answer. Case in point, I was told that if you're concerned about having committed an unpardonable sin, you haven't committed it. By the Dr. John MacArthur's camp, and Paul Washer's, and David Wilkerson's. Now, some of them say if you are concerned about having committed an unpardonable sin, you most probably have not committed it. Then I heard this preacher, Wolf Barnard, an old-fashioned, either he's Southern Baptist or Free-Will Baptist. I personally think that those old-time Free-Will Baptists are close to the original Christianity. Anyways, Rolf Barnard said, you can try your best to find God, but if God's closed the door, He's just gonna laugh at you. You'll be trying to find God, begging God to come, revealing Himself to you, and He'll just laugh at you. And they quote that verse from Proverbs. Let me get it out for you. Because I have called, okay, turn with me in your Bibles to Proverbs chapter 1. And if you give me an answer that's not true, you told me a lie. Even if you didn't mean to lie, you still lied. It's either a lie or a truth. It's either black or white. Turn with me to Proverbs chapter 1. We'll start reading verse 20. Wisdom cries without. She uttereth her voice in the streets. She crieth in the chief places of concourse, in the openings of the gates. In the city she uttereth her word, saying, How long, ye simple ones, shall ye love simplicity, and scorners delight in their scorning, and fools hate knowledge? Turn you at my reproof. Behold, I will pour out my spirit unto you. I will pour out my spirit unto you. So that's like Jesus. I will make known my words unto you. Because I have called, and ye refused. I have stretched out my hands, and no man regarded. But ye have set at naught all my counsel, and would none of my reproof. I also will laugh at your calamity. I will mock when your fear cometh. When your fear cometh as desolation, and your destruction cometh as a whirlwind. Listen to this. When distress and anguish cometh upon you, then shall they call upon me, but I will not answer. They shall seek me early, but they shall not find me. So people in their lives, they've thumbed their nose up of God, refuse to get saved. But later in life, they want to find God when times get tough. And what does God do to them? He sits back and laughs at them. And He will not save them. He refuses to save them. So much for a loving God, a God who has great patience. Can't even wait for the motherfuckers to die for it became too late for them to be saved. Fuck you, God. I know You love me, but and thank you. I thank You if I'm not deceiving myself, but if there's one human being that you do not love, by default, you don't love me. I wish You would save everybody, God. Not just most of the human race, but everybody. If it's possible. Maybe it's an impossibility for You to save everybody. So you hide behind this. The sovereign will of God. God wants people to be damned. God wants you to damn as fuel to show the redeemed how big and bad He is to His enemies. That's what Jonathan Edwards says. Taught. Now where was I sitting? But I got so many questions. I'm disgusted. I curse these Christians who say that. Don't ask questions like that. That's a foolish question. If you ask God that question, God's going to get mad. Why? If God is truth, if God knows everything there is to know, all knowing, He should be able to answer my question easier without even having to wiggle His nose. But if He gets mad because I asked these types of questions, he's trying to mask the fact that maybe He doesn't know the answer. And if you believers can't at least pray for an answer, hey, maybe I need to become a dictator and get some of these Christians together, like Dr. John MacArthur and Paul Washer, and hold their families hostage and threaten to kill them if they cannot answer my questions. Jesus said, I'll do this. If you cannot answer my question, then if you do not deny Jesus, I'm going to kill you and your family. And then, let's see if Jesus really meant it when He said, premeditate not what you shall say, for I will give you a mouth and wisdom, which none of your enemies shall be able to resist nor gainsay. Maybe that's the only way I can get the fucking truth, the fucking answer to my fucking questions, become a dictator. And do that to the Christians. Force them to denounce Jesus if they cannot answer my question, or die. Maybe God will still not give the answer to my questions. They'll have to die. Folks, it's time to get serious. If you really believe in all this stuff you preach, Dr. John MacArthur, you should be willing to die. You should be willing to lose your family members. You should be willing to have your wife killed in front of your eyes if you do not deny Jesus. Otherwise, it's just a pretty philosophy. But you really care more about your own family, even those of your family who are not born again, than you do the born again loser on the internet. So I have to answer. If this love is from God, if the tie between born again believers is deeper than any family tie, why in the hell am I not seeing this demonstrated in the hearts and lives of the true born again, blood washed Christians like Paul Washer and Dr. John MacArthur? If you got a wife, you should love your wife, yes, dearly. But if she's not born again, you should love. And you have a fellow believer. He's born again, but he's homeless. He stinks. You should love him more than you love your wife. And if you don't, I have to ask, is Jesus and His love real?